Alright, welcome back. I have a few boards of pine that I picked up from my local mill. And my wife just bought 6 laundry baskets. Let's do another one-day build and just make a rack for these to sit in.
So first things first, let's show you guys what I'm going to be building this time. This is just a stackable laundry basket holder that my wife found on Etsy. These are actually the views that she was looking at. And the prices on these are ridiculous. These are just made out of 2x4s, and I don't know why they're going for about $300. But I think I can throw something together just a little bit cheaper. Actually, quite a bit cheaper. So I'm starting with some strips that I milled down to just about 2 inches wide and 1 inch thick. And when I said a little bit cheaper, I meant quite a bit cheaper. I ended up getting this as well as enough lumber to start another project afterwards for less than $100 because the mill that I live next to, they only deal with pine, and pine is dirt cheap around here. So this is a super easy project. I cut everything down to length on the miter saw. So you only need 3 separate lengths. You need your big long horizontal, or your big long vertical ones that are going to be how tall you actually want this rack to be. And then you need your horizontal front to back and your horizontal side to side. And that, it just depends on the laundry baskets that you guys have. I just picked up the cheapest ones I could find at Target, or rather my wife picked up the cheapest ones you could find at Target. It's about $5 for one. And then I'm just marking out the spaces. Luckily, I could go about a foot in between each one, which meant that a 6 foot tall rack was going to be perfect for us. So I'm adding a 45-degree chamfer to these horizontal slats. These are the pieces that the laundry baskets are actually going to sit onto. So I didn't want there to be any sharp corners in case the kids were coming by, grabbing stuff, or just running into things like they do. And I thought that it also added a much nicer look. I didn't see this on any of the ones that I had seen on Etsy. So this felt good to have a little bit more effort than one of the $300 ones. It's a ridiculous price. Next, from what I had seen, these things were pretty much just held together by a couple screws on each slat. Now I went a little bit further and I inset these screws so that way I could add some dowels and plug them up. I think that'll give it a much nicer finished look for something that I'm going to have inside of the house, even though it's just going to be in the laundry room and it's functional rather than decorative. Still want it to look nice. Now initially I did just do 1 screw while I was messing with my square to make sure everything was just where I needed it to be. And then you'll see that I went through again and I added a 2nd screw. So there's 2 screws on each side. There's 6 slats each, so this used quite a bit of screws, but that's alright. It still wasn't $300 worth of screws. And yes, I'm going to probably complain about that price the entire time, because realistically, I built this thing for like $50. After all my screws were in place, I had countersunk all of these screw holes to fit a 3/8 inch dowel. And so here I was just plugging in all of those screw holes, just setting some glue, cutting it flush, and I like to hit it with some sandpaper so that way if there's any gaps, the sawdust mixes with the glue and you get a much cleaner finish. This does kind of gum up your saw a little bit, but nothing a little cleaning rag won't fix. with that first one done, it was time to just go to town and plug them all up. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with how to make your own dowels, what I do is I just cut a hole in, I just drilled a hole through this piece of steel, and I took a thin strip of wood that's as close to my dowel size as I can get, and then I just chisel down one end so it fits through the hole. Now you can take that strip and you can throw it in your drill, and you can just drive the whole thing through. You can do it that way, or you can hammer it, but the drill works so much faster. You're gonna see me do it in real time, and I'll have fresh dowels from the same type of wood that I'm using to make the thing, so that way everything will match. With all of my screw holes plugged, it was time to take both of these pieces and add the horizontal spacers. So I pre-drilled some holes. I'm going to make some more screw holes right now. And the easiest way that I found to do it was just to lay everything on its side and put everything where it was supposed to go, and then drive in the screws later. Now, if you haven't already, you should watch my other video that I did. It's 3 projects that you can do to kickstart your woodworking business, or at least just fund your hobby. There's a couple good ones in there, and you can add this one to that arsenal. You should also subscribe to the channel. That'll just help me expand and grow as a YouTuber. And I'm actually really liking this as a hobby. I don't typically like being in front of the camera and all of that, but this is a good way to get out of my comfort zone. Now, with all of those cross supports in place, there was really only one thing left to do, and that was to cut some more wood down so that way I could do kind of a slat shelf on the very top. I mentioned that there was only 3 different size boards that you'll have to cut, and this is the same size as the ones that the laundry baskets will sit on. So I didn't have to make any new measurements or anything like that. I just took the same measurements that I did for those ones, and I cut probably about 9 or 10 more. After the chamfer was done on all of those pieces, I just went ahead and I attached them with 1 screw in the front, 1 screw in the back, and even though you won't be able to see it, I did go ahead and I plugged in all of those screw holes the same way I did with all the other ones. And before I knew it, I was setting my last screw in place. This thing was just about ready to make its way inside the house. Now, if you end up building one of these and you do the same dowels that I do, then you're ready for some paint or for stain. I went ahead and I just used this Minwax. I forget, I think it's dark walnut is the color. It's the same one that I use on the barrels. If you haven't watched that video, I explain what finish it is exactly. It's just leftover that I had, but it's a color that my wife really liked, so she told me to use it. I said okay, and I stained away. And it's as easy as that. This thing ended up coming out absolutely great. If you want to make one, then go down into the description below. I'll have all of the links that I cut these boards to, so that way you can make this thing on your own. Remember that it is relative to the size of the laundry baskets that you have, so you might want to just kind of make your own measurements. You can take what I did and edit it a little bit, but I'll catch you guys in the next one.